Hey, good evening everybody, and thank you for being here this afternoon. I think you've all seen the programme. My name is Paul Ward, part of the Campaign for Social Economic Justice, but I'm also now part of the Tivoli Committee. The meeting's really been called more by the Tivoli Committee probably than the Campaign for Social Economic Justice, but Lloyd Dagalar, who you all know over there, and myself, we're really members of both. This meeting, as you can imagine, has come out of lots of things. Many years of abuse by the police as we see it. Extrajudicial killings has been going on for much too long. 100 years, more than 100 years. We need to do something about it. The particular date today was triggered possibly by the article in the Gleaner about 3 weeks ago suggesting there are police death squads. And even if there are no police death squads, it appears that the police killings are not by just rogue cops, which may happen sometimes, but are condoned by the higher command. Now our big effort, of which this meeting is part, Lloyd's big effort, because I must commend Lloyd, he's the driver behind all of this, is to try and deal with this problem of extrajudicial killings, not on the basis of tracking down and putting behind bars individual police, but trying to get to the heart of it, which is what we believe. There's a policy which either by omission or commission allows this thing to go on. We know the police have problems, we know there's crime in Jamaica, we know people are not willing to give evidence, partly because they don't trust the police, partly through fear of the criminals. Many reasons. We know the courts are very slow. All of that is still no excuse for killing people and the police acting as judge and jury and executioner. It really can't happen. It doesn't help the police to get any cooperation. And of course what we all know is what we need is a community type policing, not paramilitary type policing. So we're here to look at all of that and see if we can help towards the bigger discussion. There's a discussion going on, especially since that Gleaner article, which we're very glad about. And we're very glad the press are here, and thank you for being here. Let's hope very much that this pushes things along a bit further. We also have, and it's live on my computer, a petition to ask Indicom to actually investigate that the alleged death squad article in the Gleaner. Up to this point, the Indicom is saying they're doing some investigations which are related, but they can't tell us too much about it. But we want something much more upfront than that. They can do it if they choose to, and if you've not yet signed a petition, it's on my computer over there. So, thank you very much. Oh, you're here now. I wondered if we could just give a couple of minutes silence for the young man who was killed in Orange Villa the day after the Gleaner article. I'm trying to remember your brother's name, I'm very sorry. All right, maybe we can just bow our heads for a few seconds for Shackelia's brother. It must be very painful for the family, and they're very lucky to have somebody like Shackelia willing to fight this thing for them. So Shackelia, we have every sympathy with your grief, and for all the other people here who may have shared some similar experience. Thank you. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, so you've probably seen the program in our advertising. Sorry, you want me to get behind the podium. You've probably seen our program already. Shackelia is not just trying to fight for justice for her brother's, what we feel, unlawful death, but we have Olwyn Morgan, I believe is here, I don't know Olwyn, the former policeman, talking about his experience of extrajudicial killings. We have Jerry Small, as you all know, talk show, giving us a history of the whole thing. Horace Levy, who sees it from a very challenging point of view, trying to deal with the things as they happen on the ground, not unaware that they may be instructions from on high, but there's nothing he can do about that directly in his work, but he has to try and reduce the problems as much as possible. And then Lloyd will finish off on behalf of the Tivoli Committee, talking especially about the Tivoli Gardens and the efforts to get justice for Tivoli Gardens now nearly 4 years later. So Shackelia, would you like to come up first? Tell us whatever you want to tell us. Tell us the circumstances of your brother's death. Tell us what you're doing about things. Tell us where you've reached with Indicom, because it's very good to hear a real case. We all know of the cases, but to hear of a real case right now would be very useful for us. So if you'd like to come up, thank you. And thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. All protocols observed. Not here necessarily to comment on the case itself, but I did write something that I would want to share with all of us. February the 20th changed my life forever. Awoken by the sound of my alarm at 12:24 p.m., I was greeted by ominous shouts of Nakiea. I alighted and almost in one motion hopped in my shorts and run to where I knew I left him at 6:50 a.m. that morning. He was not in sight. On the front was a frantic crowd expressing a range of emotion inaudible to me. Somewhere within that, I heard he was at the hospital. I hastily made my way there and saw doctors and their team working earnestly to save him. At about 4:10 p.m., my brother, who I loved limitlessly, was pronounced dead. My brother didn't die because he committed a crime, but because of the hypocrisy on which our society is built, the one that classifies us as at risk and vulnerable. Vulnerable against what, I might ask? Isn't this what we form peace management and other mentorship organizations and groups to engender? We encourage empowerment and the spirit of entrepreneurship, but are we mere victims of our circumstances? This was what my brother did. He adhered to the mold. I want to begin by sharing a story that would form the framework for the road that lies ahead, one that urges us to never ignore the signs and to galvanize our efforts towards the eradication of injustice. I am from a school of thought that believes there is power in the pen. And so years ago I exercised that belief through a letter to the Commissioner of Police, anonymously though, foreboding that a citizen of the Orangeville community would be killed by the police. Not in a million years could I imagine it would be my brother. The reason for this was not because we were a threat to the force or national order, but because of an assessment of the lawmen's behavior who visited the community and the belief that they were in dire need of constraint. Today, my brother is a manifestation of these fears. In spite of this, and the pain that it has caused our family and Nakiea's loved ones, I am still hopeful. Hopeful that the imminence of change will arouse nationalistic tendencies and the call for action, out of which will come unison between the force and citizens and the elimination of distrust. I stand here today and has accelerated my mourning to appeal to my countrymen, who better than I, one who has endured and is enduring the extremity of indecision, poor judgment and miscalculation. This I do to assist in the prevention of another family facing similar fate. My life has changed drastically. However, this young lady, a product of the Orangeville community, will use the platforms given to educate and mediate with the ultimate goal of being bridging the gap and diffusing the disconnect between the police and citizens, especially those of an assumed economic background. The social divide must stop. I have no disregard for the work that is being done by our law enforcers, and I understand the nervous conditions under which you are asked to administer justice, but we too are nervous. There is an adage we perceive as simple, but rather profound, once explored thoroughly. If you do what you've always done, you will get the same result. I therefore say this to say, if we employ dated crime-fighting techniques and a mindset born out of a system developed during slavery and, from my interpretation, designed to suppress savages and barbarians, as the black race were referred to, then instead of in the 21st century practicing community policing, our force will be contributing heavily to the murder rate. To the contrary, though, if for a minute I question the resilience and collective conscience of Jamaican people, the love and support you offered to us is a testament to who we are as a nation, inherently caring, filled with the desire to do good, believers in the justice system and how it ought to function in principle. The attention you brought to this case, and by extension so many others, across geographical boundaries, speak to a yearning for reformation and confirms a collective will. You have helped us in this fight. Whatever we achieve in our brother, son, and loved one name is the result of your efforts, and we thank you for that. We will no longer be the passive receptors of injustice, and the violence that permeates our society will not define us. It cannot and should not be, as I have heard a former member of the force say, all are perceived as criminals. An alarming statement which therefore confirms extrajudicial killings. Will I ever achieve my stipulations in this lifetime? Maybe not. But what has definitely happened is the way has been paved for their materialization. Our children will have a fighting chance. The discourse has begun. This Alfarian, UWI graduate, introduced the world to a new side of the inner city, which is not unique to me. Exhibiting such command of the English language, even in mourning. It afforded me an invitation into your home. I am thankful for that. As your ears and eyes gave me leverage, our efforts gained momentum. You became involved in my fight, increasing our audience and highlighting the plight of a nation. You took it on. As my brother became a symbol of your son, your husband, your father, your brother, and your cousin. How my brother died clearly states that we are all exposed and indeed at risk. Therefore, I call for new legislation, accountability, control, checks and balances. My brother's attacker never knew who he was, and that was because procedures for making an arrest or engaging a suspect were never followed. I, however, will accept his fate on the basis that we will together work to eradicate the dominance of rogue elements in the force who seek to taint its ideology to protect and serve. My brother is not and should not be tried in the court of public opinion, and therefore my work will not be around addressing any smear campaign, but instead to say, I too was on the other side of the camera until murder found its way to my doorstep and changed my life. The time is ripe for change. For once, let's put hands and hearts together and invoke it, as change is inevitable. We have to believe that there is a justice system and must endeavor to not make it an ideal, fervently ensuring it is not perverted. The fate I worked vehemently to protect my brothers from has met with us, but I stand resolute that it will not be in vain. History has proven that from bloodshed comes change. Thank you.
Shackelia, thank you so very much for taking the effort to put together something so appropriate and powerful too, with a few more people like you involved, not because you had the bad experience, but because you're the person you are. Maybe something will finally happen. So thank you very much for being here too. Alwyn, I think it's your time now. We've heard from Shackelia, a victim or almost victim, a victim in many ways. And now we hear from Alwyn Morgan, a former policeman. Thank you, Alwyn.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm especially grateful that the police themselves are here. I'm happy that at least one member was sitting there a while ago, is here to share with us and to hear the pleas from some of us who think that there is indeed injustice permeating the whole thing with the police and the citizens. It's a cause for concern among us all, and we're happy that the police is here. Well, not in the building at the moment, but I'm sort of disappointed. Appreciative, indeed very grateful to have served with some of these brave men and women who have become in a way the literal wall and the metaphorical wall, if you will, between danger and safety. And it takes some amount of people say we should be balanced when I talk. I'm not here to seek consensus or to be balanced. I'm here to say it as I see it. And if it hurts the egos of some people, I'm so sorry, but it will not change me from telling you what is true. That's what I'm concerned about. So I'm happy for the cops. I've worked with some policemen who really put their lives on the line to guard us while we sleep. And they've done a good job at it. On the other hand, there have been some who it has been a very shameful, a very bad and terrible experience. And it is that aspect of it which I want to talk about this evening. As I came here this evening, I was listening to something. I have internet on my phone, and I like to listen to some debates and so forth. And I was listening to a commentary from some United States people who did a sort of, what do we call that? Some program about the Jamaican drug runnings, which incidentally had the role played by the police involved in all of it. And I saw that we are indeed in a tight spot. Because what is perceived, what is on that bit of that presentation is so far from what is really happening in this country. These things are edited and they are done to suit a particular crowd. And that is where the shame lies. Because the truth hardly goes out. It takes people like us who are here every day, seeing and feeling it, to tell the world what is happening to us. Because the truth is not really getting out. There are policemen who will tell you that they have been shot at, they have been disrespected, they have been targeted, and that is true. What I want us to talk about and focus on, as my dear young lady spoke up, is those who are victims of the police who are supposed to play a role where they are to protect us, to be that rock we can lean on in the times of depression. We can't argue the way we hear it every day about police are being cussed when they do something wrong and the criminals are being lifted up. Police murder people we quarrel, gunmen murder people we don't quarrel. That's so nonsensical, and it's painful to hear intelligent people speak like that. You can't replace one form of tyranny with another. You can't say it's okay for the police to shoot somebody because the gunman does it. That's not it. The police are paid to protect us. You can't say then they have a right to go ahead and shoot because the gunman would kill you nevertheless. And the gunmen are daring and they are wicked and they are savage, so the police have a right to be as equally savage, equally daring, equally vicious. That's nonsense. It doesn't do any good for any of us, neither for the police nor for the citizens of this country. Can't help. It has not worked and it will not work. It is time we come to realize that no matter how much force we employ in a nation, in the condition and the state that this one is in, it isn't going to be brute force or guns or a freedom from the police to do as they wish, to eliminate who they think are the troublemakers. That will not help. Because we have social problems and we have other problems, which people are not getting involved in criminality all the time because it's a hobby of theirs. Indeed, it is sometimes the very survival that depends on criminality, whether we like it or not. And if that is the case, if it's to survive while they do it, then killing 10 of them per day will not stop that, because people will still need to survive. and if criminality is going to put food on their table, it's basic in the human being. That basic instinct is always there to survive. And so we have to address all these things. And I'm not recommending any solution. I'm not a politician. I'm telling you that there are ills that we need to address. As I speak, I can't help but remember some policemen I've worked with. And one of them is my dear squaddy, Bruce L. Brown. He died, I think, 1998. And he belongs to one of those rare group, or one of those rare police officers who genuinely died because he had his countrymen at heart. He was on a bus in the Hertfordshire era. I don't know if anybody here remember the incident. And the bus was being robbed. He had a firearm on him. So once they searched the people and find that firearm, he was going to be in trouble. And they searched and they were coming down to him. Eyewitnesses told us what was happening. And as they came closer, he got very nervous. And he realized now that he was going to be in trouble. And he pulled his firearm. And he shot one of the gunmen. The other one shot him. He spent many days in KPH. I went there and spent a few hours with him. He couldn't talk because he was seriously ill. He died, I think, 8 days in hospital afterwards. But his story is one that tells you of the kind of sacrifice that people make in the name of their country. But these cases are so isolated. When I served as a police officer, I remember an incident, one of my very first wake-up calls, that something is dramatically wrong. I was downtown Kingston working with them soldiers. And we had a call on the radio that there was a mentally deranged man. I just want to learn about this case. It's one of those cases that touches the human heart if you have one. We were called to a mentally disturbed man who was causing some problems in Coronation Market. We were on foot patrol. I walked with my 3 soldiers and we went to the scene. I saw a young man in his 20s with a half a machete in his waist, mentally disturbed apparently. He was clean. Up to the point that I saw him, he was very clean. Not one of those who was walking mad on the street. But something triggered off in his head and he started behaving boisterously. So the market people got concerned and they called. When I went there, another group was already there, another 1 police officer with 3 soldiers. And we tried to surround the man to hold him, to disarm him. One soldier took his SLR off his soldier and just asked us to step back. And I couldn't believe, I didn't know he was going to do it. I thought this man wanted to frighten the gentleman. And he shot him in his head. I witnessed that. I saw the pole of the man's chin being torn off with the SLR bullet. And he fell in the gutter, in the dirty water. I watched his teeth, everything flew past me in the water. And I felt like crying. The man was helpless, was sick. And I was forced to say that here is somebody who attacked the police with a machete. Not the police, the security forces. In this case, it was done by a soldier. But to be honest with you, my organization, the JCF, didn't play a role where the world wanted to know the truth. The whole investigation was geared toward defending the people who were on the operation. Needless to say, everybody's free, but that man is dead. And I could go on and tell you stories because my duties were primarily operations. I was not one of those guardroom police. And I reached a point where I thought that this was just too much for me to handle. I went into alcoholism. I had to live with these things. And it's not a nice sight to look in the face of a dying man, to see the helplessness, and to sit and live with yourself and be happy. People do that. Policemen do that. I have seen it. I've spoken with them. I've lived with them. And I know they can do that. But I couldn't. You could say, well, I was one of those chickens. But, and let me tell you this. The JCF, I don't know, power, it seems, makes one inherently, I don't know if it's inherent, but you get so abusive at times. I have done my fair share of abuse as a police officer. And I will tell you, another confession, it's almost coming with the territory. You learn to exercise that power in a way that works to your benefit, so to speak. That's a very nice way of putting it. But it's almost automatic, and it reaches a point where the abuse is no longer seen as abuse. It's almost a routine for you to be abusive. And when one stops you and say, look, this is not right, you see him now as an enemy. And I must tell you that today, as I speak here, I am seen by members of the JCF as an enemy. And I don't know what one would expect me to do. I am here appealing to the members who are serving, who have children, who have relatives out there, who those relatives, those children are prone to this same kind of abuse. And the only time, there's a saying that somebody shoots your mother, you do not speak. They shoot your brother, you do not speak. They shoot your aunt, you do not speak. They shoot you, and there's nobody left to speak. And that's where it's going. If we all keep silent and we all say, okay, I'm a police officer and I'll stick out for them and I'll defend them, it is going to reach a point where it catches to your doorstep. And then you're going to say, if only I had taken the right step. And I'm appealing to us all I'm not the enemy of the police officer. Today, as I stand here, I have many friends. I have a brother who is still serving. I have friends who we talk daily who are police officers. Some of them think that I shouldn't be saying this. Some of them think I shouldn't say these things, protect the police at all costs. But then I listen to people like Shackelia. That's her name, right? Shackelia. And the humanism in me says that we must all, as a voice, speak out against this kind of tyranny, this kind of terrorism. Light Dogula has been at it, Fox has been at it, many others, nameless, they have been at it, and I respect the loyalty, I respect the stick-to-itiveness, for want of a better word. The way you can stand day after day, year after year, committed to the cause, and on board with you. I don't know where we're going to go. But I do hope that the voices that are hearing us this evening will, in their own way, contribute to that change. Because it is urgent. We do not want a police force that we can't trust. We do not want a police force. And, everybody should respect those who guard us while we sleep. We should, really. It takes effort on their part. They have families too. And they're out there when we are sleeping, and they're patrolling and they're guarding. It doesn't give them the right to kick your door off and accidentally or willfully shoot us and walk free. That's my problem. The fact that the system allows you to walk free. And I tell you something, it's not just with the police. It has a political element in it. It also has, the justice system is something, when I hear people talk about, the death sentence, I get very frightened. Because I know that this justice system is not ready for that yet. We're going to hang or execute some very innocent people. And for that I can't stand to see anything like that being mentioned. But the police, there's a problem with management. There's a problem with policies. There's a problem with attitudes. There's a problem with regulations. And they all have to be addressed. The policeman knows for certain that if he tells you that you have broken the red light, he stands a better chance of winning that case than losing, whether it is true. The judge is inclined, it seems, to believe what the policeman says against what you say. And there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with the police story being believed. All the time, or most of the time. Or it's easier to accept it than the story of somebody else who claimed to have been an eyewitness. There is something wrong with that, and it happens all the time. The judges tend to... I have that happening to me when I was a police officer. I said to the judge that this is the case, and in an RM case, and without even proper... The judge just believes. The police tend to have that kind of a power, and they know. And so we tend to abuse it. I wanted to say something else before I forgot. It's slipping me, but it's very important. If it comes back to me during the question and answer session, I'll be sharing something else with you. But the justice system needs to be addressed. It's flawed. Very, very flawed. And policemen feel the sense that we will get away. And it's a feeling that is common. I was watching the American program on National Geographic channel there about cops. I love to watch programs that deal with law and order and policing and so forth. And I noticed that there have been some level of abuse from the American police as well. But the difference with them and us is that the citizens were abused. They have some form of a redress, which in more instances than not, they have justice. They get justice. Their system is not as flawed as ours. So the legal team for that victim is always in a position to secure that justice, as against us here. It takes us many years to secure the kind of justice, if we get it any at all. And when we do get it, we are almost hopeless if we plan to sue the state or the Attorney General. It's almost a hopeless situation. So justice is denied in every facet. And people can't help but feeling hopeless once your opposition is the police. And it shouldn't be so. So as it relates to policy, I'm asking that the people who legislate laws in this country look at the whole thing, and if you really care about the people of your country, then you act in a way that they feel that they can get some justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Owen, very much. I hope the press and other people hearing a former policeman actually speaking so frankly about what he saw will carry a bit more weight. As he said, the judges in the court tend to listen to the police and believe them. So let's hope, having said what you said, people will not write it off as make-believe. I'm very pleased with what you said, a great contribution to it all. And I was very pleased that you hinted more than once that no matter how bad our criminals are, and our criminals are pretty bad, what we're reading about East Kingston in the Gleaner this morning, none of that gives the police the excuse or the right to do what they do. When they do it, just cannot work, and we know it doesn't work. There may have been a little dip in the crime statistics after the Tivoli massacre, but it's back up to where it was and beyond. So clearly the approach being adopted, the paramilitary approach, is not working, besides being immoral, illegal, unlawful, and disgusting. Anyway, enough from me. Jerry, your time. Jerry's going to fill us in with a bit of a background, a historical background, I hope. Jerry, I know you could go on for an hour or more, but if you can keep it down to about 10 minutes, if you could, please.
Yeah, you know, I like that talk on the radio. I said to him, I believe more women should be represented in the participation up here, sir. Because it's most of the women them fight for this cause. And we have a little argument. That don't mean nothing offensive, and not like me attacking them. And the point me I talk about. So if anybody want to feel offended about that, I'm so sorry, but they're not sticking to the point. No attacking on a person. Well, anyway, I'm not going to go no comprehensive history, you know. But I'll give a sketch, and you can fill out the space them with any color where you want to fill them out with. Well, now, the police force formed 1867. After an extrajudicial trial of Paul Bogle, you might question that, but certainly William Gordon, with them take him from Kingston and carry him go to St. Thomas illegally, go try him and execute him. That did illegal, you know. So the trial itself was extrajudicial. Them kill him, and them kill about some thousands of people and burn down 1,000 houses. And then them form the police force to say, never again must people like Bogle and Gordon and other people rise up in the country to free themselves. That's what the force formed for, you know, to say never again. So you know what the force, it's not the fault of the policeman, you know. They were formed together for that purpose. And that's why the police forces, from the beginning it was formed for that purpose, to say never again people must stand up for them rights and we go and kill out them. You can't say things like Rasta, you know. Just tell me now. Anyway. So now, so you hear me now. Reagan, or when jumped to Reagan, 1948. Reagan was a guy very brave. And him have him gun from in the 40s. Because the political party been arming their people from in the 40s, you know. It's not none of the 60s with no Siaga and Dolly Thompson, like that. From in the 40s. And before the political party them found, the bad man them was there with Bustamante, and him used them. And then Bustamante was a protection of PNP when PNP found. Bustamante was the bad man leader, and the BIT was the garrison of the PNP. Well, now, the late 40s, now Reagan are going away. Brave. Reagan is a guy who them farm the movie Harder They Come Off. I must look for my watch, coming out over 10 minutes. You know. So Reagan is the man who them farm the movie Harder They Come. It's a true story, no? Harder They Come movie, it's a true story. Reagan is a guy go on with a whole heap of things, and when police come with them, can't catch him. More time shot police and them can't find him. And him go to a photo studio one day and stick up the cameraman and say, take some picture of me with my 2 guns. And him take a whole heap of picture. Nobody never know how Reagan look. Some of police have an idea how him look, but them don't know him look. People never believe that Reagan real, because him get to too much time. So it's only when the cameraman know where him stick him up in the studio and we can take a whole heap of picture of them 2 guns. Carry the picture of them, go to Gleaner or Star and push it under them door. And so them get to get some picture of Reagan. And then put out them picture and eventually them say, a guy like this, we have to kill him. We not try him. It's a bad example. We have to kill him. So enough time them surround him and them pen him up and them just get there, all the time. And eventually them catch him out a line key there. And them say we have to kill him. We not hold him and carry him. You understand me? But this is a long tradition from 1867 say, anybody like Bogle or Gordon, I don't even want to name nobody in that room here. rise up, male or female, if them even cuss a bad word and them pregnant, we are kill them. That's what the police force found for now. You understand me? I line I tell. So now from Reagan now to independence. Jamaica get independence, them take over from Britain. The Jamaican politicians more power drunk. Them are going worse. Because Britain have a level of moderation when it comes to them things. But them are going worse. But the example set to them, the last example, great example set to them, is Pinnacle 1954, when under Britain, Bustamante the tool was able to mash down Pinnacle and beat up people and shoot people. But at 62, when them get full power now, within 8 months of them get full power in 62, the government here says some people are down in a Mobi in a land dispute. Is land, the dispossession of land is the main thing make the people poor up to now. That's the only thing make people work for $5,600 a week. Minimum wage is if them do have no land. When people have done, they're not going to work for $5,600 a week. So you have to keep, you don't have to just, it's not just to let people have land. You have to keep them from having land. If you don't keep them from having land, you're not going to get nobody to work for you. So you keep them from having land. And in 1963, within 1 year of independence, 8 months, the government here say a land dispute down a Mobi, and the people are militant because they are dealing with Africa, and they're willing to move like the Mama in Kenya. Them say we're going to wipe them out. I'm not talking about no trial or no carrying. And not only that, a couple of days after it started, Bustamante fly down to Mobi with the entire cabinet. And him tell the police, say, you hold the whole of them. Whether them a Rasta or a beard man, you hold them, you know, man or woman. And when the jail full, we full the cemetery with them. Everybody know that saying. Well, I was there. I was 15-year-old. And within 6 months, within 4 months, my father tried a murder case, and I down there with him when I tried. And them use the it's not even a murder, it's murder. Them kill some man. But the police murder dozens more than what them land dispute a murder, you know. And they use it as an excuse to literally kill more than 2 birds with 1 stone. To frame up the Rastafari movement, those are the people who lead the fight for land, as being a set of outlaw. And at the same time to increase the charge on ganja. Because you used to get all 2 weeks for ganja, you know, and 3 months, you know. And after the Coral Gardens case, my old man did object to it, you know. Because they were trying to use the case to say, is ganja them smoke and get man and murder people, and therefore they got the people of Jamaica and the parliament to increase the minimum sentence on possession of ganja to 18 months. So it become a political charge. You charge the ganja not because they have ganja, you know. You have to, in any repressive country, you have to have charges where you can charge the people with when you can't hold them for what you really want to hold them for. Or when you can't charge it, you don't want to try them about it. They never want to try Walter Rodney, you know, because too much thing would have come out. They never want to try me when they hold me October 68, because too much thing will come out. And them don't really want to try people when things are going to come out. So you have a charge, you put away people, and people will believe. When they hold me and frame with ganja, everybody say, yeah man, Jerry smoke. So you get him out of the way for 3 years or 18 months, and people believe it's true. It's a political charge. Every country that is repressive have political charges where they used to put you away. So the Coral Gardens case was used to kill more than 1 bird. Kill the bird of Rastafari and have a political charge you can put people out of the way. Well, we're talking about killing, we're not talking about ganja now. So Coral Gardens was a mass scale of extrajudicial killing. Then now, before we come to Green Bay, by 67, 4 years after Coral Garden, Buster retired, the one who said, full up the cemetery with them. Retire. You think him bad? When Shearer come in, the first speech Shearer make, he make it in just after he become Prime Minister in April 67. And he make it Christmas when he turn on the light for the Christmas tree down a Lionel Town him constituency. Him say, I don't come here to preach no beatitude to no politics. Shearer's a soft man and a girl's man. But through Seag and Tavares, a real rough man in the party. And I'm tell him, say, if you don't go on rough, we're going to take over from you now. See, Ken Jones go down to Sangsa, we're going to take over from you. So Shearer have to start talk some bad talk, but it's not really Shearer now. So Shearer start to say, I don't come to preach no beatitude to no police. You know what is beatitude? It's the set of talk where Jesus would demand them when he might tell them how to move. Say, blessed they are the meek. And blessed are the poor. Blessed are you when men revile you, and blessed are you in little more in the hereafter. Everything going on. Well, sure, say, I no come for preaching of beatitude, you know. To the police, you know. Him say, when you buck up on a criminal, because people was bald now, say, look here, imagine. The man was 60 feet away, the man was out where the green car park. And the police killed him to ride them, and he was no threat to them. Sure, said to them, say, I don't come for preaching of beatitude to no police, you know. When you buck up a criminal, you know, don't measure the distance between you and him before you set him alight. Shoot first and ask question later. So you think Buster man did bad? Sure, never bad, you know, but Trim Saab and Siaga them better than him and Tavares. In besides, we step it up, otherwise he can't be prime minister over them. Because them just use him till them can take over, you know. So she start talk some bad talk. And say, I don't come, I repeat myself, Shira said, I don't come, and 2 times I know, just after I become prime minister, and Christmas now when it's the time of Jesus, where I say, forgive. He turn on the light, them don't Lionel tongue, you know, Christmas tree, and him repeat again, so I don't come, I tell the police, say, shoot first and ask question later, and when people, him say, I'm a no-nonsense prime minister, alright, we go jump from this up, 67 that, you say 1970 now, I escaped by the skin of my teeth. Because some man broke HD Hopwood gun store. Gun used to sell a store, you know. I have gun store all about a town, you know. Some man broke HD Hopwood. It don't take too long, and I'll tell you about all that. But eventually them get 100 and odd firearms. But by 3 years later, I just a few firearms in them up. Them sell firearms, them lend out a 5 man, you know. 5 man, them in a work oil. Them sell firearm, them lend out firearm, them bury firearm and hide. When them go back, it was sitting about them say, sure. Them have more firearm. Till eventually them boil down to a little few. I don't want to tell you too much detail. But I have a little doctor brethren. And one of the youth when there's not a criminal. But him get wind up in a half-a-tree jail. Broke fighter dance and go to jail. Wind up with them and they in a jail. And them escape from jail now, so him them amongst them. Him get shot. Newland shot him. Bad police, Newland. And them send message come give it. And we have to go there go see if we can help him to not dead. And we make him know, you know, say, we not deal with criminal, you know. A black justice we are dealing, you know. So them little skill we get to not get to help criminal, you know. But sure, little brethren now we take out the bullet. Little more them get shot again. And want to come to the same idiot business. We say we not come to help criminalism, you know. Because we're not into criminalism. You can't go on your ways. Them up a Pembroke all I harass my brethren. I use my brethren in the yard as a cover. Up to them then, police can answer them up there. Them say me if come up there, come help me, say me not go, you know. Them send message come tell me, say, your little daughter still live up on the top of Pembroke, she is 1 year old. You know what them do? Oh, your little baby daughter still live up on the top there? Me say me not come nowhere. You see the next day, shoot out in a Pembroke Hall, gunman and police and gunfight. Lie them I tell. Them have every information because some idiot guy them have every information and them they go execute all of them. And you know the first sound get out? They kill off the whole of them and them up at Pembroke Hall and Alan Cole and Jerry Small dead too. So them know so them all we are little brethren where some of them when them did innocent didn't know it. So them figure say we ever did it. Woody King, brother Bentley King. Him escape by skin and teeth, you know. Him driving after them execute the whole of man, you know. And them all kill Woody King now, you know. Because female the man, them have gun point in him, you know. Yet them all kill him now. Him innocent, you know. Bentley King driving there with him VW. And buck them up and go kill him. Leave it. Superintendent leave it. I go kill Bentley King. I go kill Woody King now. And Bentley King grab him wrong him knee and go down for him shoot me to ras God and I'm begging Yalla I'm begging him to not kill him. He said leave it, kill me. And gradually them let him go and kill Woody King. Herman King who is a hero in Jamaica amongst Rastafari youth. Well hear this now. That is the first mass execution, you know. 5 of them execute one. Them name them out in there, so when them come in the room and hold them say you already. You do this and you do that and them read out everything. And some man beg and beg. And them say shut them out. And them just shut them there. Them say you. They say how long your mother have dead. Me say they take you over the street and this and that. Your mother from a shot but you move it. And them just shot them. And them try every one of them. And I'm on a ball and I fist them back. Let's execute all of them. And they will look for it. That is January 1972. Well, let's say February 1972. PNP, at the height of them campaign, better must come. Just few days before election. Some man from Almantown and Harborview, some of Michael Manley boy them, you know, a step. Go rob a bank at Discovery Bay. And when them come out of the bank, you know, them carry 4 bank workers hostage. And them in a little Triumph car. And then our father priest come out there, you know. Fat man, father. I mean, big fat father priest I used to give. Yes, man, Father Roy Campbell. And them push me in a car, but them too fat, them couldn't know. Them push him out. I said, get there. And them take the 4 bank workers, you know. And them head for town, you know. You see when them drive through, them get Rasta bad name all the way. You see when them drive through, them throw money out of the car, you know. And say, come poor people, come take money. Rasta revolution. And that the robber them, Michael Manley, gunman them. And Michael send them, you know. But a man them a fight gun for Michael Manley. And that them a do, you know, spread bad name from Rasta, driving from Discovery Bay back to town, 74 miles. Throwing money out the window and say, Rasta revolution, come take money for people. And when them reach a Mount Diablo, the car not fast enough, them black a woman in a big Falcon. And Jukardon should come from Wochi. Jukardon and them piling 7 of them in the car. No, 5 robber, 4 bank worker and the woman, so 10 of them. And the car, a big car, gone over Mount Diablo, down in a Linstead. Now the bypass are building up, but them don't know about the bypass, them a drive through Linstead. So the word gone out now, you know, say bank robber. I come from Discovery Bay, and them know say Almantown, them come from Harborview, them know say I come back at town. And you know what the government of Jamaica do? The government of Jamaica, including the Ministry of Finance, them send message down at Barbados to the headquarters of Barclays Bank, where me did our work 1967 when Shearer took over as Prime Minister, as a young Rasta youth. Them send message to the headquarters in Barbados and say there's a spate of bank robberies in Jamaica over the past couple of years, and we are now we're going to corner them. We're going to corner them. They are on the road coming back from country, but they have 4 bank workers in the car, and there's an opportunity to nip this space of bank robberies in the bud by teaching them a lesson. We are asking Barclays Bank International to give us permission to open fire on the car, although the bank workers in there. And the government of Jamaica sent to Barclays Bank and request that. Make anybody come dispute that, including Siaga. And the Barclays Bank says, go ahead. And when them reach near Linstead, police on the alert for them, you know. A policewoman drive a long wheelbase Land Rover. You know, long wheelbase Land Rover? Like what Bob Marley drive, the long one them. She drive a long wheelbase Land Rover out of Linstead and buck them up going so and realize that them. And she just turn around on the road and pass them in a Linstead traffic there. Pass them and go in a Linstead and just turn the Land Rover across the road. Back up them. And the police kill off a ras by the car except the white woman who owned the car. She come out of the car and crawl underneath the car and go on the sidewalk. Them kill off the 5 robber them. And the bank worker, them including a pregnant woman. With the permission of Barclays Bank, the government of Jamaica do that February 1972, a few weeks before Michael Manley win the election. And this is not a history, you know. It's only a sketch. And it's approved by both parties. Well, hear this now. 73 that. 1978. You hear me now? Yeah, you hear me? After what the thing go on in a state of emergency in 76. But let us jump now. 1978. January. From 1977. The top sociologist produced by Jamaica. Smith. What's Smith's name? M.G. Smith, who is an intelligence expert of MI5 in England. Him advised the government, say, you can carry out a social reform and make Jamaica great enough, but you're going to have to go win at least 3 elections. Now the difficulty is winning 3 elections. You have good intention, but to go win 3 elections, you're going to do some tough things the first time and people going to vote. No, you have to find a way to win 3 elections. Well, hear what M.G. Smith is him that advised them to move against Rasta in 54 and also in 60. Him advised them now, say, you have to set up a thing. You know what them do? Them set up at Derrick's way. Them all get some of the youth from out of the ghetto I entice them to go train. And then little more them go and say the opposition are train them to overthrow the government. JLP not clean like that. No. I defend JLP when I tell them things. No, because JLP do the same ras them, you know. Only did green. And the other one right. Alright now. So MG Smith advisor man my beat. You know what them do? MIU, military intelligence unit, them I use because them can't trust the police. The police are not so disciplinary solar. Information leak out. Military intelligence unit now go down in the south. Michael Manley no. Tony Spalding a bad man down Michael Manley no. Because Tony Spalding is general for PNP. Michael Manley have federal mapping on the garrison gang. But them not tough like Tony Spalding. So to control, maintain control of the party, Michael Manley have to have a garrison. Because Tony Spalding have a garrison up in a jungle. See I got a few more down a Tivoli. Michael Manley not have no garrison. Little Dunkirk for them have that no garrison. I live like 2 upstairs buildings. Michael Manley start build one garrison down in at the bottom of South Camp Road. Pass over the gas station go down past Machado. But then can't get to go out with it because them not get the youth them work. Because enough labor right now them now and get no labor right now work. So them say alright. Them send out their youth and say, you know can't get some work you know, but they so let them send out plainclothes people as contractors. You know. When I come in and tell you them say, you can't get some work you know, as security, you know, I'll get work as security. And you'll get all gun fuel too. I will train you for fire the gun too. I police video that. Hello. Are the CNN video that? Could you answer me please? Is it the CNN video that?
Yes, sir.
You damn well know that I know it's you. Yeah. And I know you. And it's not only you I know. And you can try set up no Derek for me. Not you personally I talk to you. Because you're just a front man. And you have some front man too. And some of them are cross-dresser. Well alright, hear this now. You tape it down, hear this now. The military now. I see them do I hate it, you know. Hate it. Them do the same thing I hate it. So them say, you can't get some, you take my picture, I'll take your one too. I take it already also. Well hear this now. So them tell the youth them now, so you can't get some security work, you know. I will go train you. So what them all do? Them all kill off the youth them. And them all get for public say the JLP set up revolution. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You say 4 hotel. Who buy it today? Who buy it?
Which are they?
The Great Lakes?
Yes.
Well hear this now. At the Forum Hotel them go keep a meeting. Them carry you them from south now. Go down a Forum Hotel, so we'll carry go meet the contractor you know. So when them go down to Forum Hotel, the time I hotel you know, them carry them up in the top floor in a penthouse. So the contractor for the project down here man. Yeah man, them all get work man. And see him secretary in a bed and switch through night you know. He's a major in the army. Major in the army a woman you know. And she did say, hey, secretary, I take down notes on the boss, I'll get work and thing. I said, when them done now, them go for the youth them one morning, the 5th of January, 1978, in an ambulance, you know, in a military ambulance. But it's not no market no ambulance. And carry the youth them out there. Some of the youth them smell a rat. And them no bother go. And them carry the youth out of Green Bay where solar practice fire gun. And an extrajudicial killing that. Them carry them out of Green Bay. You know what them do the day before? Keep him on a minister of security. Them put him in the hospital. Them put keep him on the hospital and not all when I born. And the man in a Green Bay, they make Dudley, no, after Green Bay, they make Dudley Thompson acting as minister of security. But him in it from long time I plan with them G. Smith and Michael. So them put keep him on him soft. Just like how Sheeran 2 soft and Siaga tough. Then put Kibble in the hospital. Dudley Thompson start attack on security. And then kill off the boy them in the morning. 3 of the man them get to them say to them, say, come, we're going to start showing up for fire gun. Them say, stand up right here so till you slow. That time at the GPMG that you know. General Purpose Machine Gun. And on the automatic and a rifle I shoot them with you know. So them put them in a big place. It's like how they will on a bunch up. I saw CNN they do want in a long time now. I saw them bunch up you know. Turn on the camera upon them. Shoot them with the camera. Bunching up and say how they do I want to know who come a radical meeting long time contact against police. See them there? I'll Green Bay you know. I saw them have the youth them and bunch them and say stay till you come. So them bunch up in their room and say alright, we're going to study them. And we're going to study them license plate and study everything. And then open fire upon the youth and kill them. 3 of the youth run and get to through them a swimmer, born a south and them way. jump and get to escape and come back at town. You see where the youth them at town are all about here, what them do? The Labour right youth them want to kill off, you know. But the PNP youth them are so disgusted at what them leader them do. Them say we now fight no more politics again, you know. The whole of we are join up in peace, you know what we do? We're going to join up and do what the Rasta man did for a long time. Stop fight for Babylon and come together. The youth them say a peace idea. That's what the peace movement started, you know. The youth them say our boss was willing to kill off the youth even though them are labor right. Well, I'll do the very labor right and no man know my boss that do that. Me now fight no more for PNP again. And the labor right youth them say we now fight for JLP neither because them would have do that too. And the youth them join together. Then worse now, some youth with them set up to shoot Bob Marley 2 years before, 1.5 years before, 76 December. Bob Marley exiled out of Jamaica, say him now come back here. You know what them do? The youth them say, you know what we do? We're going to send some man go up a land and go apologize to Bob Marley for what we do. And ask him to come down and come lead the peace movement. Not to mention the money we have. Can finance certain things. So Bob Marley coming to the peace now. And everything come together now because the youth them find out to them one party leader, them will kill them and kill out. You know understand me? Bob Marley come back to Jamaica, peace movement get bigger. But Bob Marley go call up Siaga and Manley on platform and them hold and like about them a deal with peace. You see by 1 year time January, 1 year time January, one of the biggest leader of the peace movement mass up. Them whale him out of them whale him down say him off dead. Because what? The plan was this. We now fight no politics to them again. Bob Marley is going to run in Trenchtown and beat Tony Spalding. Claude Massop going to run in West Kingston and beat who? And everybody went spread out all about Bucky Marshall, everybody. None of them now work for nobody again. They murder Claude Massop and murder the whole of them. And the jail, you see when Claude Massop get murdered, Dudley Thompson, Minister of Security, and Champion Glass clinking off the top of the hotel down there, where was Minister of Security. And for the first time, Siaga and Dudley Thompson was on the same side. And the peace movement marched down. Where else again now? So, I'm going now. You know about the rest. That's a 79. You know the rest about 80. Come down. Alright? You can get a copy of tape. One time, Jamaican for Justice keep a demonstration in front of the U.S. Embassy. You know? And we did it in the early morning. Me not Jamaican for Justice. Because I know I not go abide with them. Them not go abide with me. But I love them. And we did it on the sidewalk, you know, the woman them flying out there demonstrate. And Steve Brown, that time was corporal, you know. And him come upside away, you know, with him video camera. And him a video the crowd, you know. But guess what, you see when him done video the crowd, him have video camera inside turn on. And me and DK don't can tell you, him a tape, you know. And you know, so video camera can tape. My tape way. We are studying, you know. It seems like how you are studying. But you are studying for the wrong purpose. We are studying for the right purpose. And I listen as I say, we are confident of the victory of good over evil. We know we will win, but we are confident of the victory of good over evil. You are no enemy, you know. Turn them, turn you enemy. So I must have grown up as a PNP youth, you know. In 1966, Siaga gave me work in the Mobile Arena. And I saw him go out to JLP, PNP youth. I Dudley Thompson trained me for fire rifle, you know. I'm 13-year-old. I have a rifle already, you know. But I never so good at it. Dudley Thompson trained me for fire rifle. I'm 13. And my friend them never believe me. Till when the peace movement go on, they might interview Claude Massop now. Never will be interview Claude Massop. And he said to him, tell me something, why you get involved in this politics and thing? Jack Massop was Dudley Thompson's right-hand man. Bad rats man, better than Claude Massop. And dance promoter. Protect Duke Reed and Cox and so on and them things there. And Claude Massop said it never will be. I grew up as a PNP youth, you know. But when I was 12-year-old, the same thing when Dudley Thompson said to my mother, you know. Say, you see these youth here? These youth are leadership material, you know, but you have to start training with them young. And Dudley Thompson said, Claude Massop was talking about, Dudley Thompson said to my father, say, you have to start training youth there, you know. I said, Jack at 12, bright, you know. And when my brethren hear the tape, it never will be, I interview them. Many brethren believe what I tell them for years, say. When I was 13-year-old, Dudley Thompson come from Africa. When they did Tanzania and Kenya. With him 303 rifle, where he shoot big game. And it's a World War II ace and a sharpshooter. And I said to my old lady, say, you see the youth, a three family away from, you know, Dr. Garden, and my old man and Dudley Thompson. He said, them youth, man, you have to start training from now, you know, and carry out a Dr. Garden farm. and start showing how the thing go. When the old man come back, you know, I said to the old lady, say, where Robin? There, Robin, them call me, you know. Say, where Robin? The old lady say, him gone with Dudley. The father said, what? He said, don't make him go anywhere that man again. Because my father knows, say, them playful. Them playful. And them play with boys and them play with girls. But them couldn't play with me.
Thank you, Jerry. Could have been much longer. I know you'd love to have gone on. Your stories are all very important to the cause, I know. So I won't make any comment. You speak for yourself. Horace, your time now. Different style, but something very important, a very important viewpoint to give us. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. Can't compete with Jerry for entertainment, so I'm not going to try. We all know the facts, and we know the causes, and the future is ahead of us, and we have to plot that. Last year, in the region of 256 people killed by the police. For the 7 years previous to that, on an average year, 245. Still not as nearly up to the 355 in 1984, but far too many. And we know the causes, and surely, and the encouragement, because the massacre that took place in Tivoli, never rebuked, I'm sure probably encouraged the police to carry on the way they have been doing. Nobody ever said, you did wrong, and the inquiry is still to take place. If it does. We hope it does. We know the paramilitary thinking is deep in the police force. We know it's in the governments, the successive administrations. Jerry has sketched them out for you. The instructions they have given to the police. You don't hear a word from them, hardly, until very recently, calling on the police to restrain themselves. You never hear the High Command calling for restraint. It's always as a shootout. The claim is there are 500 shootouts last year. That's rubbish. 600. Beg your pardon. 600. I heard 5, but I'll take 6. But it's, of course, what you call a shootout. So it's there, and it's not only there in the present, it looks to go forward in the future. Because the anti-gang legislation, the new version of it, which came out week before last, when you study it, you see that the definition of criminal organization is now strengthened. And the report says this, they've strengthened it. And they've strengthened it so that it's going to include not just the criminal organizations, what the police call Generation 2, and the international organizations, what they call Generation 3, but also Generation 1, which they call street gangs. We in the PMI call them defense or protection crews, because that's been their function, to protect their community or their piece of turf. So the new thing, if you look at the report for the revised legislation, it sets out the police position, and basically the police position is that these street gangs are the tools of the criminal gangs. They are their apprentices. They're going to move up and become criminal gangs, so you must treat them all the same way. And that's the purpose of the anti-gang legislation as far as the JCF is concerned. They talk about criminal organizations, when you have criminologists like Tony Harriet saying they're probably not more than 15, if that number in Jamaica. But they count, the police say there are 200. And they are referring to the street gang. So this is the intention of the legislation, to enable the police to scrape them up. What we have, in effect, is something not very different in terms of what effect it's going to have for the 1974 Suppression of Crimes Act, which gave the police leeway to do what they wanted, and the police ran with it, to the point where it got so bad they had to repeal that legislation in 1993. So here we are back again, doing the same thing over again. What is the option? Unless we recognize that the situation cannot be dealt with by targeting gangs, that something else is involved, we will not cure it. Let me read you. I'm sorry I didn't bring my jump drive. We could have flashed it on the screen. I don't expect you to remember all these statistics, but it will just give you an idea. These are the actual numbers from one community that PMI has collected. I'm withholding the name of the community, but it's a typical community. We have it on several other communities, and there are scores of them across the city, Spanish Town, Montego Bay, and spreading into rural areas. These are the numbers for 97 high-risk youth and men, ages 15 to 27. 54% of them dropped out of school because of lack of money and or violence. 54%. 40% cannot read and write well. 51% grew up in a single parent household. In most cases, no father did it. 72% have no formal skills training. Maybe they pick up a little masonry from watching somebody do it, but nothing formal. 55% have friends involved in gang activity. 52% has family engaged in gang activity. 69% have a family member killed by gang violence. 73% have a friend killed by gang violence. 32% have access to guns. 27% admit to having been involved in a gang. 41% have been incarcerated at least once. This is a typical community. This is what Jamaica has done to itself. And you think that by targeting gangs and going in there, you can change this situation? How many of these youth do you want to eliminate? Police call it bird shooting. A large number of these youth have expressly said they want an alternative. The alternative to the killing by the police, the option is to offer these youth an alternative. And that means community development. There is no other way you can treat a live community like this, and there are dozens of them. Dozens of them. If there's to be justice in this land, what Shackelia has called for passionately, and I too, and all of us want justice, then we, as she has called for, have to stand up and shout for it and press for it Demand it. And that's the only way we will get it.
Thank you, Horace, as always. Very informed comments. I expect some of you saw a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week, Sergeant Wilson from the Police Federation talking about the police killings and saying, what was the figure? 255 of the police killings last year were due to provocation. Now we've all admitted here today that the police do have a difficult job, but you kill somebody because you are provoked, and it just can't work. Horace sees this all the time, tries to keep warring youngsters apart, warring gangs apart, and the police are in there far from helping. And as you've described, the anti-gang legislation, as it's called, is just dealing with very much a symptom. So thank you, Horace, for bringing us to the point, and not just community policing is needed, but community development. Right, Lloyd's turn. Thank you, Lloyd. Now, Lloyd will no doubt be appealing for some action from us all. We all know the facts, as Horace started off by saying. But what can we really do about it? It was a big crowd here today, and thank you so much for coming, all of you. But when we leave here, hopefully we'll see something on the news. But what can we do? And Lloyd, I'm sure, will give us some guidance. Thanks, Lloyd.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks to everybody for coming out today. I must say that I'm a bit surprised at the turnout, but I'm glad that we have so many people here this evening. Of course, in order to get people out, you have to depend on the media. Of course, I have a very vast email list, and I send things out through my email list. But I also try to get the word out through the media, the talk shows and so on. And I remember last week I was on a talk show and trying to promote the program here today. And the person said to me, well, when I told them who the panelists were, and they said, but there's no balance there. They said, why didn't you invite the police commissioner? Well, I was a little floored by that, to be quite honest with you, because I doubted very much that the police commissioner would have accepted our invitation. But you never know. Maybe another time he might consider to come. But I just want to say that, when you look at the media landscape, you will find that the discussions about police extrajudicial killings is skewed towards the police. The talk show hosts and so on, and the guests and everybody else, they all seem to be so intimidated by the police. They don't want to call a spade a spade. And, if you draw conclusions from what is obvious, then they say, boy, it's allegations, it's allegations. So you have to make sure that you have that word in there somewhere. Because if you don't use that word allegation, then they jump all over you, right? So I believe that the people here today, starting with Shackelia and Alwyn Morgan, Jerry Small, and of course Horace Levy, are not just being emotional, they are presenting you with facts, things that we know. So I believe that you need fora like this in order to shift the balance where it ought to be, or to try and create some balance so people, know what the facts are, and we can speak honestly with each other, and we can call a spade a spade. That is what I think. But when you look at what's happening in the country now, for example, the politicians, all the politicians seem to be intimidated by the police. There's not one politician, right, no matter what constituency he or she comes from, where there are high rates of police killings, that is going to stand up in Parliament or stand up before the media and say, look, this thing has got to stop, right? We got to stop this policy of police extrajudicial killings. None of them, not one of them, is bold enough to stand up and take a stand on behalf of the people that they represent, especially in inner city communities. They're all a bunch of cowards. And the media is not very far behind them, because as I said before, the media is not playing its role, right? The media don't want to call a spade a spade. If you call them, they shut you down. They don't want to expand the discussion. I don't know what it is that they are afraid of. They are afraid of their shadow. And then every 5 years, we elect a government, and we elect a prime minister, and we elect a minister of national security, or we elect them and then they appoint them as prime minister and minister of national security. And we find that they're offering no leadership on the matter either. And as Jerry has said, talking about you, Shara, there has not been one prime minister since we got independence and before that has ever made a clear and unambiguous statement condemning police extrajudicial killings. If you can find one prime minister that has done that, I give you the mic and you come up here and talk, because I need to learn from you. But I don't know of any prime minister, right, from Norman Manley, Buster Manty, Hugh Shearer, and Jerry's talked about Hugh Shearer, right, Michael Manley, P.J. Patterson, all of them, Siaga, Bruce Golding, Portia Simpson Miller, not one of them, and Holness, not one of them has the guts to stand up and take a stand on this matter. No Minister of National Security has done the same thing either, right? None of them. So we have a very serious problem. And if none of them is prepared to stand up to the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Jamaica Defense Force, then it means that they condone it. They condone police extrajudicial killings. It means that they're giving a wink and a nod to the practice. There's not going to be any paperwork that you're going to go and find and say, boy, police commissioner, too much bad boy out there. You know, the crime situation is running away. So they'll send the police, go blow off them head. You know, go and do it. Of course not. You're not going to find that. But it's a wink and a nod. And it's the messages, the subliminal messages that they send to the police force. Right? And then we have a problem also because, you know, for decades, not one policeman has been convicted for extrajudicial killings. So when you talk about it, and I mentioned the word allegation before, you find, but I said, but what are you talking about? Are you a madman? There's been no policeman has been convicted. So this is all in your mind. You're malicious. You're malign the police force. You talk foolishness. And academics, politicians, the whole lot of them take this line when you hear them on television. It doesn't happen. It's a figment of our imagination. So when they go into communities and they kill 5 people here and they kill 4 there and they kill 1 there, all over the place, and you have thousands of people protesting in the streets and say they came and killed my husband, they killed my brother, they killed my son, etc., etc. It's of no consequence whatsoever. It's a mirage. It's a figment of your imagination. It doesn't happen. And so, you know, it continues over and over and over. And it keeps on reproducing itself. So somebody is mad as far as I'm concerned. This is a pathological situation. And I'm sure it's not us that are pathological. It is the people who are ruling us. It is the people who are in charge of the police force and in charge of the Jamaica Defense Force who are pathological because they have no social conscience, right? And, you know, I was just reading a book by this man, Isaiah Lang, right? A policeman, a former policeman. And I encourage you to go and buy the book and read it, right? And after he became initiated into the business of killing, of course, he tell you firsthand that he was first shot by a gunman, etc. But, you know, and some people talk about it, and maybe Alwyn can talk about it too. There's a rush of adrenaline when you kill a man, right? And there's a need to kill more and more and more. And so when you hear people talking about death squads in the police force, it's not a figment of people's imagination. Because when you go and read Indicom's report, you will find that Indicom is saying that there are some policemen in the force who in 1 year, them kill 12, them kill 13, them kill 8, them kill 7. How come? Are you saying that, boy, they are so unfortunate or so lucky, whatever the word is, that they run into so many shootouts? No, they are designated killers. They are designated executioners. And, you know, we're not idiots. We understand what is going on. And so, therefore, we have to begin to take this matter very seriously, because every single one of us in here, life is on the line. You know, you hear people say when their brother was killed or their father, boy, I used to hear about it, you know, but I never believe it would have happened to me. I never believe it would have happened to me. And it finally happened to you, right? This is how the thing is going on and on and on. And we have to put a stop to it, right? Now, the current situation is that 258 people were killed last year by the police. Right, 258 approximately. When Shackelia's brother was killed down in Orange Villa, I saw the police commissioner on television in a news program, and I was trying to correct Horace a while ago. I heard him say that if these people would stop what they are doing, the police wouldn't have to go there killing people. He said it. And he also said that there were 600 shootouts last year. I wrote to Indicom and I said, can you document the 600 for me? 600 shootouts? This is worse than Afghanistan. This is worse than Afghanistan and Iraq, where they are declared wars. Right? So what is happening here? And is the police commissioner including the 258 people who were killed in controversial circumstances? I mean, did he include that? Because if he did include it, then it goes to his credibility as to whether, you know, this is not somebody that is pathological. And I have to say, you know, because you are saying that 258 people who were killed under controversial circumstances is part of this, you know, this menace to the society and to the Jamaica Constabulary Force. No, that can't work. So, what we have done is that we have set up a petition, and I'm hoping that before we finish tonight you won't run out, and you will go over to Paul's computer and you will sign the petition, right? It's online, it takes a little while, etc. I don't want you to lose your concentration, no, but I'm going to ask you to try and do that. We have set up a petition, and we have said to Indicom, what is happening has been going on for decades. It's not an accident. It is a policy of state that the police, the security forces, have the right to go out there and kill people, to be judge, jury, and executioner. It is not being committed by rogue policemen. It is not being committed by untrained policemen. And I've spoken more extensively with Alwyn. And as the article in the Gleaner said, so station house, they are planned with senior police officers who have got quote-unquote intelligence. And they say, boy, that one over there and that one over there and that one over there. Right? We're going to go for him and we're going to remove him. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, so where's 4 o'clock in the morning? What percentage? 4 o'clock in the morning, they go and they kick down your door. And you hear that the foolish person, fast asleep, right? Police come and kick down your door. You're going to reach for a gun and try and shoot at police. Nonsense. Right? But that is the story that is peddled over and over and over and over. So, what are we, stupid? So we are saying to Indicom that you have the power. You have the power according to the Indicom Act. They are not going to conduct any such public inquiry because it is going to affect ongoing cases before the court. With all due respect, that's nonsense. Because we're not talking about any case that is before the courts. What we are saying to you is to address the issue in the way in which I just outlined it. All right? It is a policy, right? And if it's a policy, then we have to all, as citizens of this country, who want our lives protected and want to see the lives of our family or friends and everybody else protected, come to some kind of agreement as to what is happening, how we're going to deal with it, how we're going to go forward, and who's to be held accountable and responsible for it if something happens and something breaks down. But it is my opinion that Indicom is also intimidated by the police. Indicom is intimidated by the police. Indicom is intimidated even by the present Minister of National Security, who has made no bones about the fact that he would like to see their power reduced. Right? That is the road, that is the position of the present Minister of National Security. And I would like to say one more thing about Indicom, right? Because, when my patience is exhausted, and I just have to speak the truth as I see it. Indicom is led by a former judge, right? No disrespect to him, but he's a former judge. His second, right, is an Englishman who's a former policeman in England that was seconded here. I don't know exactly who's paying his salary. And if you check out Indicom, you will find that several of the investigating officers are former policemen or soldiers, right? So this organization comes with a security forces bias, a bias toward the security forces, and that is a very big problem, right? I am, in trying to broaden my reading and so on, I see where in England they call it the Independent Police Commissions of Investigation, something similar to this, where Parliament, the English Parliament that set up this thing early in the 2000s, right, had an inquiry into the equivalent of Indicom, and they are saying that this organization is a toothless tiger, is a toothless bulldog, or whatever you want to call it. It is unable and incapable of challenging the police force. Well, the same thing applies here. So somebody has to be honest enough and to say that just like we have set up several other organizations to deal with corruption and to deal with this and that, these organizations have major flaws, and Indicom is one of them that has a major flaw. So they will investigate till kingdom come, and they will never be able to get the prosecution or the conviction of any policeman, because the investigation is flawed in the first place, because of the senior police officers and the policemen who go out there concoct the statement already. They've gone concoct the statement because they went out there on a plan. And even if they never go there on a plan, there's no senior police officer that has himself been involved is going to come down on any rank and file policeman who take it upon himself to go there and kill a man. They're going to come and defend him in the twinkle of an eye. Alright? So, that is how the system works. Right? That is how it works. Now, so we are saying to Indicom, have an investigation, have a public inquiry. We're saying to the people, sign our petition, put some pressure on Indicom. If we have to go there and protest in front of the Indicom office, we will do so. All right? Now, the other point that I want to make is that if we don't do something about this, then listen, what is going to happen soon, like what happened in Tivoli Gardens in 2010, another one is around the corner. Another Tivoli Gardens massacre is around the corner. Right? They just want to get past this Tivoli Gardens business. It's an inconvenience. And if they could just dispose of it, they would love to dispose of it. But it's a ticklish question, because some of us, like myself, is on their case. Right? But they want to dispose of it. The PNP is not interested seriously in having an investigation. They just want to get rid of it. They just want to have a commission of inquiry like they had with the Manhattan Phelps business and some little Cass business, and then you wrap some politicians score points against each other, and then we all forget about it. Because remember, the present Minister of National Security is coming under some serious pressure, right, from civil society. It's coming under pressure from the media. Right? It is coming under pressure. We're saying, listen man, look what happened in 2010. when you go down there and you destroy them, boy, they down there and you degrade the shower posse and thing, the crime rate dropped. The crime rate dropped. We had a state of emergency and the crime dropped. The President Minister of National Security has positively, commended that action there in 2010 by using the Tivoli paradigm. He used the word the Tivoli paradigm as the basis upon which the police should now reduce the murder rate to 1 per day by 2017. I don't know if he's looking at election time in 2017, but that's what the present Minister of National Security has said. And if you read the editorials in the Gleaner and so on, they are also making this point when they talk to him. So if you read between the lines, right, once this Tivoli business is out of the way, then look out. Other Tivoli God's massacre are going to happen the same way. So is that what we want? Is that what we want to keep on happening over and over and over? We have to put a stop to it. Our position is that we don't need the type of commission of inquiry which have been going on for decades now, that result in nothing but a rap on the knuckles for this or that politician. What we need is for the investigation of the Tivoli Gardens massacre to be referred to the International Criminal Court. Anything less than a referral to the International Criminal Court is joke business, is a whitewash. It is going nowhere, right? The government has the power to refer it to the International Criminal Court. I'm not saying that, well, you know, to be balanced, that they can have their commission of inquiry. But part of the terms of reference must be that the commissioners must be tasked with the responsibility to make a recommendation for the matter to be referred to the International Criminal Court if they find that crimes against humanity were committed, and if they find that those who had command responsibility in the operations have a case to answer, right? And then if that is what they say, then the government should refer the matter to the International Criminal Court. Because if you don't refer the matter to the International Criminal Court, our jurisprudence does not recognize crimes against humanity, nor does it recognize the people who have command responsibility in operations. So in other words, the police commissioner, the head of the Jamaica Defense Force, the Prime Minister, they send the security forces into Tivoli Gardens, and the security forces committed a massacre, and they just sit back and relax and say, boy, you know, we're going to do an investigation, and boy, you know, I tell them must respect the people's human rights. Listen, that's not how it goes in international law. That is not how it works in international law. And we don't have to go very far from, you know, just after the Second World War, where commanders were tried. Japanese and German were tried for the atrocities committed by their soldiers, and some of these commanders were not even there when it happened. But by international law, you cannot be the police commissioner, you cannot be the head of the Jamaica Defense Force, you cannot send them down to Tivoli Gardens and them go down there and massacre people, and you have no responsibility whatsoever. That cannot work. And Jamaica has not ratified the statute of the International Criminal Court into Jamaican law. I was putting some pressure on Mark Golding, and he conceded to me that he had brought the matter before Cabinet, and Cabinet says, yes, get a legal draftsman to start draft up the law, and then we will ratify it, etc., etc. But this is not a priority for the government, and I don't know when this thing will ever be drafted and gone before the Parliament and so on. But right now we have an issue. We have an issue at stake here, which is that certain people, civilian and military, have command responsibility for the massacre which took place in Tivoli Gardens, and they must be held to account. They must be brought before a tribunal which practices international law to state what they did to protect the human rights of the people and what they did when they discovered that their human rights were violated. And the evidence is overwhelming against all three top commanders, that the Prime Minister knew from the very beginning that atrocities were taking place down in Tivoli Gardens, and he did absolutely nothing. He got daily reports from the security forces, and he asked them no question, and he did nothing. All he did was to send for the charge d'affaires of the American embassy to ask him, boy, I'm here, say so and so. It's true, right? I mean, that is what he did. And as I've already made a case in terms of the police commission and the Jamaica Defense Force. As a matter of fact, mortar was fired into Tivoli Gardens. You know what a mortar is? You don't use mortar in a civil operation. You have pitched battle between armed combatants in a war, that you can just say, well, we're going to shoot the mortar over that way. You can't shoot mortar into a civilian area, into civilian buildings. And they destroyed buildings over there, and they killed people, and they injured people over there. That is a war crime. And the head of the Jamaica Defense Force has to give an answer as to what he did and why he authorized the use of mortar into a civilian area. Right? He has to answer to those questions. So,
keep going through the gate.
I think I've exhausted a lot. I know you have heard a lot of people.
I have a question.
So, just hold on a second. Let me just wrap up. Wrap up in 30 seconds. So, before we leave here today, I'm going to ask you if you can just sign that petition if you don't mind. And I'm also telling you that we are trying to form an organization called Movement to End Police Extrajudicial Killings. If you are interested in being part of that movement, then I'm also going to ask you to sign the thing, the register down there, put your name beside it, put your telephone number, and just indicate that you would like to be contacted so that we can take the step further. You know, we just can't continue to be slaves to the system. You know, either you're a mental slave or you're a physical slave, and you know, I think we should be neither. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Lloyd, as always. Lloyd has put so much work into this thing over so many years. This meeting wouldn't be taking place without Lloyd's efforts, and this, of course, is not the first one. Unfortunately, the internet connection is not good enough for you to sign the petition on my computer right now. But if you can remember, if you go to change.org, and just type Terence Williams, you'll find it. The actual petition, if I can read it without my glasses on, simply asks Mr. Terence Williams to conduct a public inquiry into the policy of police extrajudicial killings in Jamaica.